Somewhere deep inside you lives the version of yourself you once promised the world. Don't bury them, awaken them. We live in a world where it's so easy to forget. Forget the fire, forget the dream, forget the vow you whispered to yourself when nobody was watching. Life has a way of pulling us into routines, distractions, comfort zones, and excuses. But hear me carefully. There was a time when you declared with conviction who you would become. Remember that moment. Remember the feeling in your chest when you believed in something greater than your current circumstances. Remember the nights you couldn't sleep because the vision of your future self was louder than your doubts. That person is still waiting for you. You didn't come this far to betray the promise you made to yourself. You didn't survive heartbreak, rejection, and failure just to settle for less than what you know you're capable of. That would be the greatest tragedy. Not that life defeated you, but that you abandoned yourself. Every day, life whispers, who are you becoming? Every choice, every habit, every yes and no is sculpting the future version of you. The question is, does that version look like the one you once dreamed of? Or have you let time convince you to shrink? Greatness does not die, it only sleeps. And when you remember who you said you would become, you ignite that flame again. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop apologizing for your ambition. You stop letting fear drive the car. This is your reminder, not from me, but from the deepest part of yourself, the part that knows you're not here to be average, the part that knows you didn't come this far just to exist. So I ask you today, will you keep betraying the person you promised you would become, or will you rise and fight for them because the world doesn't need the watered down, half-asleep version of you? It needs the real you, the powerful you, the you that once swore, I will not leave this earth without becoming everything I was meant to be. Remember who you said you would become. Now, go become them. The promise you made to yourself is more than just a thought you once had. It is the seed of your destiny. There was a time when your heart was burning with dreams, when your soul spoke louder than your fears, when you looked at yourself in the mirror and silently declared that you were meant for more. That promise was not a mistake. It was not an illusion. It was the truest version of you speaking before the world tried to silence it. You may have buried it under responsibilities, disappointments, and the noise of everyday life, but that promise is still alive inside you, waiting for you to return to it. The power of that vow is that it holds you accountable to yourself. You can lie to others, you can walk away from situations, but you cannot escape the echo of your own voice, the memory of your own declaration. That is why sometimes, even in your quietest moments, you feel restless. That restlessness is your soul reminding you that you have unfinished business, that you once saw yourself standing taller, living bolder, shining brighter, and you still owe that version of yourself the chance to exist. The promise you made to yourself is not about perfection. It is about alignment. It is about living in a way that matches the greatness you once believed was possible. Every time you ignore that inner vow, you feel the weight of compromise pressing down on you. You tell yourself, maybe later, maybe when life gets easier, maybe when I'm stronger. But deep down you know there is no later, there is only now. The longer you wait, the further you drift from the person you said you would become, and the further you drift, the heavier regret will feel when you look back. Think of the people who inspire you most, the leaders, the creators, the warriors. Every single one of them carried a promise within themselves and refused to let it die. They were not stronger than you, not luckier than you, not blessed with more hours in the day than you. What set them apart is that they refused to betray themselves. They honored their vow, even when it cost them comfort, even when it demanded sacrifice, even when it required them to rise after 1,000 falls. You made that same promise. Maybe you whispered it quietly, maybe you shouted it to the universe, maybe you wrote it in a journal where nobody else could see. But it is still there, waiting. Your life will feel empty until you chase it, until you protect it, until you breathe life into it again. The promise you made to yourself is not just a memory, it is a call to action. If you want peace, if you want fulfillment, if you want to feel alive again, Then honor that vow. Stand up and declare once more that you are ready to become who you said you would be. Every choice shapes your future whether you recognize it in the moment or not. The truth is that life is not built on a handful of massive decisions. It is shaped in the small, ordinary moments where you choose discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, and courage over fear. People often wait for a big breakthrough, believing that one grand opportunity will change everything. But the reality is your future self is created in the quiet hours, in the choices you make when no one is watching. Every morning you wake up, you are casting a vote for the kind of person you will become, and those votes accumulate until they define your reality. Think about it. Each time you choose to stay committed to your vision instead of drifting into excuses, you build momentum toward the life you promised yourself. Each time you choose to push through resistance instead of surrendering to comfort, you carve a path toward strength. On the other hand, each time you give in to procrastination, doubt, or laziness, you take a step further from the future you once dreamed of. One choice may feel small, but over time, those small choices multiply into massive consequences. The danger lies in believing that small decisions don't matter. Skipping one day, telling one lie to yourself, compromising one value it feels harmless in the moment. But repeated often enough, these little compromises become a lifestyle, and that lifestyle will eventually become your identity. The person you are today is not a result of one big event, but of the thousands of small choices that accumulated over the years. And the person you will become tomorrow will be shaped by the decisions you make starting now. This is why discipline matters. This is why self-awareness matters, because you are always creating your future self. You cannot expect greatness if your daily choices are leading you toward mediocrity. You cannot expect strength if your habits are built on weakness. The future you desire will not appear by accident. It must be constructed brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. But here is the power in this truth. No matter how many wrong choices you have made, you still have the ability to redirect your path. One good choice can be the spark that changes the trajectory of your life. The decision to stand up, to recommit, to realign yourself with who you said you would become. That choice has the power to undo years of hesitation. It is never too late to shape your future, but it always begins in the present moment with the decision you make right now. Your life is a collection of choices, and those choices are building the person you will eventually meet. Ask yourself today, are your choices leading you closer to the version of yourself you promised to become, or are they pulling you further away? The answer lies not in what you dream about, but in what you decide to do with every single choice you face. Rise and reclaim your fire, because the greatness within you never disappears. It only falls asleep when life's weight becomes too heavy. You are not born to simply exist, to go through the motions, to let your dreams turn into regrets. Somewhere along the way you may have lost the intensity, the drive, the hunger that once set your soul on fire, but that does not mean it is gone forever. Fire does not die. It waits, and it will respond the moment you decide to breathe life into it again. The question is whether you are willing to wake it up and pay the price of becoming who you said you would be. There will always be reasons to stay where you are: fear, doubt, comfort, the whispers of others telling you it is too late. But understand this, every excuse is a thief stealing the fire you once carried in your heart. The people who rise above mediocrity are not the ones who never stumbled. They are the ones who refused to let the flame go out. They knew that even in their darkest hour, they had the power to ignite themselves again, and that decision made all the difference. Reclaiming your fire requires honesty. You have to admit where you've been hiding, where you've been shrinking, where you've been settling for less. That honesty is painful, but it is also liberating, because it is the first spark that reignites the flame. Once you accept that you've been living below your potential, you create space for courage to return. And courage is the fuel that allows you to step back into the fire, stronger than before. Your fire is not just for you. It is for the people who are waiting to be inspired by your strength. Somewhere out there, someone needs to see you rise so they believe they can rise too. Your light is not selfish, it is necessary. When you dim it, the world suffers. When you unleash it, the world changes. That is why reclaiming your fire is not optional, it is your responsibility. Do not wait for motivation, because motivation fades. Do not wait for the perfect time, because it never comes. Do not wait for permission, because you already have it. The fire inside you belongs to you alone, and the moment you choose to rise, nothing can extinguish it. Every struggle, every setback, every scar becomes fuel for the flame, and the very things that once tried to break you become the reasons you burn brighter. So stand tall, breathe deep, declare to yourself and to the world that you are ready to rise again. Reclaim your fire, because you were never meant to live cold and empty. You were meant to live ablaze, unshakable, unstoppable, unforgettable. Your time is not tomorrow. It is not someday, it is now. The fire is waiting. Rise and claim it.